what better time than the present to start talking about a new project, and with somebody that has been on the channel many, many times, who I have learned a lot from. Jake, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. We both disappeared from streaming for like 4 months.
Dude, the sun's out. You got to get outside and have a good time. And I know you're in Europe somewhere, and I'm in Michigan. We just don't get enough of that. So it's like, yeah, no need to sit in front of a computer for a couple of months.
Well, I definitely have not seen the sun in 4 months. This has been pretty much my world.
So you spent this time building.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I heard you say yesterday on your stream with the verse that you've been working on this for 2 years, but just had some like moments of clarity. I think Zen helped you out a lot, and some of the things you learned from the pulse chain sacrifice. And then you just like, this is it. I know what I'm going to do. And then you dove in. Tell us kind of how that panned out.
Pretty much. So I've been in crypto since end of 2016. Didn't really take it serious until the 2020 bull run. Like end of 2019 is when I really took it serious. And I've always been very obsessed with game theory and figuring out what has the highest potential of getting the most people in and what has the potential of being a great store of value. And one of the things that always annoyed me, and this is another thing I mentioned on the first stream, is with the pulse chain sacrifice, I came to this conclusion of like, okay, and a lot of people said it during the time, like, why is Pulse Hex a different coin, and why does the buy and burn fees not just go towards Hex? You know, lockup mechanism, and then all the buy and burn will make it deflationary over time. That would be the absolute perfect crypto game over. But he didn't. And I was like, why is everything, like all these good tokenomics exist on individual cryptos? Why is this not M1? And this has been in the works for, I wouldn't say works, but it's been an idea for 2 years. I've been talking to it with my friends and stuff like that. But even 2 years ago, I knew, hey, this is the top of the market. Launching it now will be incredibly stupid. So we're going to have to wait anyway. So I started keeping track of all the tokenomics. I have an entire like Google sheet, like a Google document, of all the tokenomics I've seen across everything, not just the ones that we talk about publicly, but just any kind of crypto. And there's been a hell of a lot of innovation in this space. Like, for example, the PulseX buy and burn, they're not the only one to have a buy and burn. There's actually a lot of tokenomics innovation happening inside of crypto.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a document of all of it, and I'm like, okay, this project has good tokenomics, but then it has this bad elements of it. This one has good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. What if somebody just came along, removed all of the bad, and kept all the good, and made it fair, and not a VC enrichment scheme?
Sure. I did post in the chat a link to the white paper. First thing I'd like to say is this is a very well written white paper. I appreciate how clean it is, how easy it is to read. It tells you everything you need to know without getting way too complicated, which is good. Because if it gets complicated, you lost me. So with that, let's just dive in real quick. I'm sure you've done this before. Can you give us a brief 1-minute summary of what Titanx is, what the Pumpamentals are, and like why would somebody take their risk on this project?
Yep. So I'm still working out this messaging on like how to make it simple. It'll come to repetition, but basically Titanx, there's a couple big problems we try to solve. So in the 2020 bull market, there was a lot of fake DeFi, and as the world kind of progresses, and with the CBDCs on the horizon and stuff like that, the only reason crypto still keeps on existing is because of censorship resistance. And that also means censorship resistance against founders. So what you see with a lot of projects is they have admin keys. The code is not immutable, it's upgradable. So they can choose to completely rug it if they want to. And you see rug pulls all day long, every day, even in the bear market. So people are actually looking for... One of the things I started realizing is these cryptos in general, the community is so important because every crypto is like its own little country. Like the US is different from, Germany is different from UAE, is different from, etc. And I feel like every single cryptocurrency is its own kind of country with different economic principles, etc., etc. And Titanx actually came to be because I was tired. And for the people that have followed my streams for a long time, I was just tired of VC stuff, man. And sacrifices are just a glorified form of VC. And that's one of the things I noticed, and this comes with learning over time, is most of these sacrifice projects actually don't end up performing well because it doesn't work. Like these pre-sale sacrifices, they don't work. They enrich the founders, but then the community is left pretty much holding nothing, and it's everything else pretty much going to outperform it. And then you had coins like Pepe come around. I'm not sure if Pepe had a pre-sale or whatever, But if you look at the chart, it looks relatively fairly launched, and then whatever the founders bought in the market or whatever they did, but it was fairly launched. And that was one of the biggest storms that happened in this bear market, where it did like 100,000x in a very short period of time. And it was some ridiculous number. And I keep seeing a lot of smart crypto heads that are not these like pump and dump influencers talking about, hey, the next wave of the bull run is going to be fair launch tokens. People are tired of VCs. People are tired of pre-sales. People are tired of founders running away with sacrifice money or whatever it is. But then Titanx kind of came to be because I wanted to put all of the best tokenomics under one roof. And the biggest thing in crypto that any founder should try to solve for is liquidity and buy pressure. Everything else is just kind of a meme and a narrative to get people to buy or to get people to provide liquidity. Why not just directly programmatically do that so that the token scales as the network grows? The liquidity pool gets bigger, there's more supply coming out, etc., etc. And so Titanx is basically fair launched with three core tokenomics. One is it's a mineable cryptocurrency. You don't have to use GPUs or hardware or whatever. You just eat plus time. You go to the dApp, click create miner, and you wait until the end of your miner to get your tokens. And the amount you get every day goes down. So it's controlled inflation, and it scales based on the initial user base. So there's staking elements inside of Titan. The core design of Titan is actually to become a base layer. So not a layer one like Ethereum, but a base layer where other projects can actually come to Titan, and through the proof of burn function, they can actually build their stuff to support Titan, and that way adopt a well-funded DeFi native style community. So the big thing is you have staking, and the other big thing is you have buy and burn. So the supply comes into existence by people starting miners. To start miners, people pay Ethereum. That Ethereum gets split up in 4 different ways. 62% goes towards this thing called the buy and burn. This is a separate smart contract that is completely decentralized, no admin keys, no way to rug liquidity or whatever. So it's decentralized and owned by the market. So 62% of that Ethereum goes towards the buy and burn.
Now,
this is massive.
Question, if I can throw that is massive. The buy and burn, is the burn a true burn? Goes to a null address, no one has access to, it's gone.
Correct. Yep. So what the buy and burn does is it buys Titanx off the market through the wrapped Ethereum Titanx pair on Uniswap v3. And then whatever number of Titanx it buys, it directly burns. So sends it to the null address pretty much. So nobody owns that. So it pushes the price chart up, making everybody's miners more profitable. So the buy and burn is a big feature. Second big feature is staking. A big reason Hex did a 10,000x is there's 2 big reasons, and the verse actually kind of mentioned this. One is, it's staking. A lot of the supply was locked up to earn staking awards, which means they can't dump on the market, so that when people, big whales, buy on market, the price stays there because nobody can dump it down or reverse the pump. So staking elements, one of the things that we solved with the Hex style staking element, the issue with Hex is when you stake, you earn more Hex. So if somebody wants to realize their staking gains, they have to sell their Hex and dump down the price. And there's a lot of big stakers in Hex that got the big payday payouts, and that's a big reason why it went down minus 99% on the eHex.
And the entire time, those people's position never got smaller. They just sold the interest.
Yep, exactly.
It's a never-ending game.
Yep. So with Titanx, we actually solved it. You don't earn rewards in Titanx, so it doesn't inflate from stakers. You actually earn Ethereum. One of the things that we solved with the Hex style staking element, the issue with Hex is when you stake, you earn more Hex. So if somebody wants to realize their staking gains, they have to sell their Hex and dump down the price. And there's a lot of big stakers in Hex that got the big payday payouts, and that's a big reason why it went down minus 99% on the eHex.
And the entire time, those people's position never got smaller. They just sold the interest.
Yep, exactly.
It's a never-ending game.
Yep. So with Titanx, we actually solved it. You don't earn rewards in Titanx, so it doesn't inflate from stakers. You actually earn Ethereum. So you can dump Ethereum all you want. It won't hurt the Titanx price. If anything, it could actually be a net positive, where people actually use their staking rewards to go back into Titanx and support the protocol.
Okay.
So staking is a big one. Buy and burn is a big one. And third big one is there's constant supply reduction happening. So it becomes scarcer and scarcer over time. And then we have the proof of burn function. And if my model is correct, Titanx should become deflationary, even with all of the miners, roughly 700 days in.
It sounds like a mixture of the PulseX buy and burn, which is very attractive, and it has a continuous funded means by which to buy and burn, which is trading fees. A little bit different with Titanx. We'll get into that. Like a reflection token similar to DXN with Zen, because you're burning something else for the price to go up, and you're getting paid in ETH, not the actual native token. As well as staking being with Hex, something similar to Hex or any of the other number of different staking platforms out there. All of those have had success in some way. All of those have also had challenges in some ways. And those are questions that I'll get into a little bit later. I still want to focus on some of the details surrounding Titanx, and then I'll get into my questions that are outside of those. But is that correct? Is that kind of the three elements that are in it? A little bit of a reflection like a DXN. You got the buy and burn, something similar to PulseX, and then you got the benefits of staking for long-term holders.
Yep. One of the big issues I set out to solve with Titan was we've all had it. You get excited about a crypto, you onboard your family in, and then they get wrecked and ended up buying the top. That makes me feel absolutely horrible. You know? So with mining, you actually create a way where everybody can get fairly can get into something in a way where they don't buy the top of somebody else and become extra liquidity for the earlier people. The only way to do that.
What you just said there is very important. Tell us how it's different.
Because you can mine. So you have two options with Titanx. You can buy it off of market on Uniswap, or you can actually mine it. If you mine it, you have to wait until the end of your miner turn to actually get your tokens. So there's a waiting element to it. But if you're impatient and you just want to trade, you can also buy on market, which is totally fine. But that way you can actually onboard people in, and it's just a fair distribution of the initial supply of Titanx, because after a while, so it starts at 8.8 million a day if you include the early adoption bonus, 8.8 million a day per miner, like per day per miner, and then it moves down 0.35% a day. So just to show how absolutely insane this is it starts at 8.8 million a day, and if you do a max to a miner, which is 280 days, at the end of those 280 days, if you wanted to do a new miner, you start at 3.5 million a day, not 8.8 million a day. So it's a constant reduction of the supply. But if you get people in through mining, they're essentially getting in at the price floor. So it's a very fair launch, and people can onboard people without the risk of them becoming extra liquidity for the early people. That's a big issue I wanted to solve. Because my dad got into PulseX, and then the SEC thing happened, and I was like, I fucking hate this. God damn it. You know? And I was like, okay, how can I solve this? And I feel very confident that I found a solution.
That's fantastic. I mean, you're absolutely right. I've onboarded family and friends. So does fair launch also equal price go up?
Yes, if there's buy pressure and liquidity scaling with the amount of people getting in. That's the big thing, because if you kind of think about it, it's crazy that Zen is not at zero, because it's kind of crazy. And this is why I felt so confident with this fair launch thing, because Zen had a massive thing missing, which is liquidity. Because even like, for example, VMPX, the people that minted VMPX, $7 million went to actually creating that thing and bringing it into existence, and there's currently $15,000 of Ethereum sitting in the liquidity pool. So 7 million went in, and there's $15,000 supporting that entire 7 million. That sucks.
That's crazy.
And that's exactly, and that's because it's all economic waste. All of Jack's designs are pretty much, hey, let's get everybody to spend as much as possible on gas and let it not support the protocol, just enrich the Ethereum validators. So Titanx set out to solve that by making sure that pretty much all of the Ethereum that gets spent goes towards strengthening the protocol as it grows. So liquidity is massive, because if you have a big enough liquidity pool, even if a big miner starts to dump, they shouldn't impact the price that much.
Okay.
Which is because so when so let's say, for example, 1,000 Ethereum starts miners, like across all users, 1,000 Ethereum comes in. 62% of that goes towards buy and burn. That's 62%, so 620 Ethereum. When the buy and burn buys, it puts Ethereum into the pool and it takes Titanx out, because that's how, when you swap on Uniswap, you put Ethereum in the pool and you get the other token on the other side.
Yeah.
So the Ethereum, the sell side, grows as the buy and burn buys. So the liquidity pool on the Ethereum side gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then at the same time, because of the fair launch, the Titanx side also gets bigger and bigger. But it creates a scenario where there's more Ethereum in the pool than there is Titanx. So there's more support to the downside than there is resistance on the upside. So the liquidity pool is the absolute key to any crypto ever, and especially if it's operating on a DEX. So this is different. I'm actually surprised that early Zen minters are still in profit, and that's because the GUI is going down.
Yeah.
But there's no buy and burn whatsoever, and early minters were still in profit, like a 2x or whatever. That's crazy to me.
It
So
is
like,
crazy.
I think this might be something insane with Titanx.
Quick question surrounding early adoption amplifier. Why did you extend it out so long? We've seen in other adoption amplifiers that they tend to be a shorter period of time to encourage people to get in. This is a little bit different. I'm just curious about that.
I just like it. Like 350 days is a good enough period of time because you want to see something hit critical mass when it comes to community, and you want to kind of make it hit. It's called this golden referral ratio, where if you get one person in, that person talks to 1.5 people, and then you get this exponential network effect.
Yeah.
That takes time. So you want to make sure that the early adoption amplifier is not only for us turbo geeks who are on YouTube all day long. You want to make sure it's also for the newer people coming in. So this 10% actually reduces every day. So it's 10%, and then reduces up to 0% at 350 days. And 350 days is kind of what I've seen where crypto starts getting its own life, where you don't need that much force to push it because the community is the biggest promotion element.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I like that. There's two ways to look at it. The way I proposed the question was, why not make it shorter to benefit those that get in early? But the long-term benefit is that somebody that finds this 60, 90, 200 days out doesn't feel like they missed the boat. And that's an important thing. A lot of people, especially those that are still here in the bear market. I mean, the people that are going to come in a year when things are going crazy, assuming that the cycle plays out the same, aren't going to care about any of this. But the people that are here today understand the value of getting in early. And if you make it such that, the time period of early, quote unquote, is only 20 days or 60 days or something like that, you could miss out on a lot of people that just haven't learned about it yet. So I do like that. Thank you for letting me know. Tell me about the rolling payout cycle. So you're not earning every day. You're earning based on your share of the pool on the day of the payout. Is that correct?
That's a beautiful way of putting it. Yes. So the reason we did it that way is one of the things that you notice is a big downfall with staking protocols is what happens a lot if people in these staking protocols, they stake for a day and then they just get their staking payouts and they unstake and dump it, which sucks for the entire community. So by doing it in payout cycles, you actually make it so that, for example, we did the 2 long rolling payouts, like 369 and 888 days, because it's a carrot to keep everybody in the community because everybody's looking at this big event. For example, Hex had the big payday.
Yep.
And the big payday for us is kind of going to be that 888 and 369 pool. So people are going to stick around because they want to be part of that pool. So you don't want to front load all the staking rewards because people start thinking very short term. And the only reason a crypto survives is because you have more long term thinkers and short term thinkers. So this is kind of to get people to focus on the long term, which is why we did it in cycles instead of front loading all of it.
Okay. The next thing in here, though, it shows that 28% of the available ETH goes to the 8-day rolling payout, whereas less goes to the 369 and the 888. So it's less of a payout for the longer stakes.
Well, actually, it pays more because, for example, the 8-day rolling payout, that's 28% that builds up for 8 days and then pays out, builds up for 8 days and then pays out.
Okay.
But the other ones, the 369 one, it builds up 18% over 369 days. So it actually ends up being way bigger. Yeah, so it builds up over time.
Thank you for clarifying that. I like that.
So those are going to be the biggest by far.
I see. So where the 8-day is continuously refreshing, while it's a larger percentage, it's starting from 0 every time, whereas the 18% is basically compounding over time.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yes, and that also means that later people that come in later can actually benefit from all the Ethereum that went in at the start.
Gotcha. Yeah, exactly.
So all people benefit from the early people.
Okay, say that again. I think that's a really big detail.
So basically, but all of the Ethereum gets split up into these bigger pools as well. So new people coming in can actually benefit from all the early people getting in because all of their Ethereum gets stored in this pool until the payout day.
And then it's just a game of who can wait the longest.
Yep.
That's a big detail. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to make sure I'm not missing anything in the. So where the 8-day is continuously refreshing, while it's a larger percentage, it's starting from zero every time, whereas the 18% is basically compounding over time.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so, and that also means that later people that come in later can actually benefit from all the Ethereum that went in at the start.
Gotcha. Yeah, exactly.
So old people benefit from the early people.
Okay, say that again. I think that's a really big detail.
So basically, but all of the Ethereum gets split up into these bigger pools as well. So new people coming in can actually benefit from all the early people getting in, because all of their Ethereum gets stored in this pool until the payout day.
And then it's just a game of who can wait the longest.
Yep.
That's a big detail. Thank you for sharing that. One other thing that I wanted to touch on that I thought was pretty neat, I'd like to hear you discuss a little bit. Straight away, it says, we believe in capitalism and meritocracy. Meritocracy is a great word, by the way. This is giving essentially kickbacks, for lack of better words, to, well, I don't want to say kickbacks. That sounds bad. This is incentivizing people to build on top of Titan. And it's incentivizing in a way that builders have access to the funds in the, is it the burn pool, or where do the funds come from that incentivize builders?
So if you go to Proof of Burn 2.0,
okay,
the section, and scroll down a little bit, there's this thing called their builder reward. So the reason I say I believe in capitalism and meritocracy is if you look at Zen, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with Zen. We just set out to solve problems, and we see problems and we solve them. But Zen seems to attract hobbyist type people. Okay, so imagine this is the best way to explain it. For some reason, the Zen community values themselves in not rewarding developers. Imagine this. I come up to you and I'm like, hey, I have this protocol right here. If you want, you can build for it. You're probably going to spend 6 months of your life building it, probably like 30, 50 grand in audits, making sure it's good. And you won't get paid for it. In fact, if you make a single dime, the entire community is going to shame you and laugh at you. You're going to be like, hey, this is a very bad deal. What the hell are you If I'm going to dedicate my life to building something, I should get, some kind of reward for doing it. So the reason capitalism and meritocracy are two big words is meritocracy basically means that the cream of the crop should get rewarded the most. And capitalism means that if you provide a lot of value to an ecosystem, you should get a lot of value in return. And if you're the best one, you should get the most value out of everybody. So the builder reward, essentially, let's say you build a protocol on top of Titanx, you can specify a builder reward from 0 to 8%. If you do 8%, for example, if your protocol burns 1 trillion Titanx, you can get up to 8% of all the Titanx burned. So 92% still burns, but 8% will go towards the developer. So they actually have income from the thing that they're building and promoting. Because another setback that you get from expecting devs to do stuff for free is you get a Jack Levin type effect where, hey, they don't get any money from staying around for the old thing, so they start building the new thing. The incentives have to be aligned for people to stick around, and the only way to do that is to make sure that they get paid for sticking around.
Yeah, that's important.
So November 2022 was the bottom. So I called the Bitcoin bottom on the day. People can actually verify it on my YouTube channel 2 months in advance. What happens is you put in the bottom, which was November 2022. Then you go sideways for a year, which is until November this year, so next month. The sideways year ends, and then we get very, very close to the Bitcoin halving, which happens in April.
Mm-hmm.
What usually happens is you put the sideways year behind you, which is November. Then you start linearly going up. Nothing too big, but like you linearly start going up
right
until the Bitcoin halving. Then maybe you get one small scare dip, and then you're off to the race, and it's a full-blown bull market. Launching now is actually perfect because the initial supply of people, you want it to be diehard crypto people that understand cycles and are around during a bear market. If you launch during a bull market, you get bull market retail people that are just in it for the short term. If you launch during a period like this, you get diehard people holding the initial supply, and those are the exact people you want to give the initial supply to. So by launching now, you actually build the strongest grassroots community because these are bear market people. We're diehard crypto at this point.
Yeah.
So it's actually good.
More code, more room for error, as Richard Hart likes to say, more attack vectors. Tell us about your audits, and specifically, did the first audits come up with any issues that needed to be addressed? Just from a security standpoint, where does Titanx stand?
There's a lot of line of code. Like we tried to make it as
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's over, I think, 3,000 lines of code. It's a lot. So I also paid a lot for audits because it's such a large code-based audit. Essentially, the first auditor was a top 10 Code Arena auditor. His name is Akshay. And you can actually see he's the top 10 2023 Code Arena auditor. And Code Arena is basically, and there's a reason we worked with individual auditors instead of a firm. Certic really isn't that credible anymore. Like half of their protocols they audit get rug pulled at this point. So Certic, people like the brand name, but it's really not good. So I used to be a lead software engineer, so I used to run dev teams. And I know how to work with these people. I can read code myself, I can write code myself. And I wrote the dApp myself, so people, hey, they can see I'm an actual engineer. They'll be like, oh shit, this dApp is really good. I'm like, yeah, I made it. So I'm not an armchair developer. So basically, the top 10 Code Arena auditor audited the smart contract first. He found 2 or 3 critical severities. One of them was to do with burning. So there's some very interesting code with Titan where you can burn miners, you can burn stakes, or you can burn liquid. So you can burn everything pretty much. And we did that for future proofing in case we want to build a protocol around burning future supply. There was some stuff going on with the ERC20 approvals, so that got solved. So we got the first audit back. We solved all of the issues. He does a final review, make sure there's no, how do you say it? No errors that came up from the fixes that we implemented off of the initial report. So we fixed that. Then we also have a second auditor. He started so he started on the 8th of October, so 4 days ago. So 4 days ago, second auditor started. Because like Trayvon said, you want to have an auditor that audits the auditor.
Yeah.
You know? And this is another thing people don't get. When you work with firms like Certic, there's a very high chance you get some kind of junior auditor where it's a second smart contract that you ever audited. Yeah, yes, you're working with Certic, but there's people like reviewing the code, and these people could be juniors for all you know. So I like Code Arena because it exactly shows what vulnerabilities they found and what protocol, because it's public competition audit. So it's like a protocol comes there, they put their code base up there, and then they have 1,000 auditors all around the world competing to find bugs in the protocol. And the people that find the biggest bugs, the fastest get points on their profile. And then they get ranked worldwide as the best auditors. And this guy is a top 10 auditor. And he found critical severity bugs in Chainlink, Arbitrum, all these protocols use Code Arena. So I like that because it's verifiable. It's not like, hey, I'm a good auditor. It's like, hey, this is exactly what I did, competing with 1,000 other auditors. And you can see it and verify it. So I like Code Arena for that.